Start recording. I started. I'm just gonna keep these backgrounds for now. I haven't changed them in a while. I don't make a lot of videos on the OBS these days. Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze all of a sudden. Excuse me. I see, single sneeze. I used to be a 2 sneezer my whole life, and now I wouldn't say that. I sneeze 1 time only as often as I do 2, or even sometimes 3 in a row, which I was never a 3 sneezer, and I could never get by with just being a 1 sneezer. That other sneeze is coming. It's like it's like the other shoe is going to drive me away for the shoe. The first shoe is the first sneeze. Usually the second shoe drops, right after it. But I don't know, sometimes, and as you get older, maybe that sometimes happens more frequently. Like, it might be a second. Sometimes it's a few seconds before. And you're like, you get used to you start to get used to maybe thinking that this is a 1 sneeze. It didn't really start happening until really late in my life. Recently, even, maybe. I used to always, one of my definitions for myself was a 2 sneezer. I used to always think of myself as a 2 sneezer. Whenever I thought of myself as a sneezer, what kind of sneezer are you? Everybody would know the answer to that question. Everybody that I ever knew would. I mean, in my universe, right? I'm a 2 sneezer. You get it. Most people are 2 sneezers. It's like, are you right-handed or left-handed? How do you not know that? Because you're both-handed? All right. You know that. I mean, in my universe you do, right? So I'm a right-handed 2 sneezer. I mean, except for, I don't know that I'm a 2 sneezer anymore. I guess you could change, but here's what I think it is. I just became open to that realization. I don't know if I was always an ambiguous sneezer. Sometimes 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. Every once in a while, a fit. Not very much of a fit, but a 4-pluser. You get something in your nose and you sneeze, 4, 5, 6 times, but not those people on the news who were like, they've been sneezing for 3 years. I don't know how they survive it. We're not going to go dark with this, but you know what I mean? Like the psychological, that's a spiritual practice, man. You're like a forever sneezer. Those poor people. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. I think I saw a documentary about something like that, and like some of them are like depressed and miserable, understandably. I feel like I could totally relate to that. You couldn't stop sneezing. I mean, I don't know how would you sleep even, right? So it can't be like something like 3 years, but it's like they get going for like 15 minutes, like 10 times a day. You're on the bus, all of a sudden, okay. They got to pull over and you got to get off. Right? Can you imagine having a 15-minute sneeze fast? Have you ever been around anybody who's ever had one of those? I don't think I ever have. You don't stick around with those, right? You leave. You ask the bus driver I can't ask that poor guy. I can't ask to get him kicked off. Just everybody gets off. And it's just that poor guy and that bus driver. That poor bus driver, too. I mean, it's 15 minutes of sneezing. Drive anybody crazy. The sneezer and the sneezed at, around, the sneezed around. He's not trying to sneeze at you. He's trying not to sneeze at all, but at a certain point, if you're sneezing for 15 minutes at a time, 10 times every day, like you gotta become equanimity with it. What a practice that would be. To not have that ruin your life. What a crazy thought. But yeah, so I've never been a sneezer like that, but that excursion was dark, but it's like, man, I feel for those people who have those types of, anybody who suffers, I guess, is really the point. But there's degrees of suffering and like weird idiosyncratic natures to some of it. Could you imagine being a problem sneezer? There's those people like Mike Birbiglia who like has that sleepwalking problem. Like, you got to take measures in your life, right? Like, that's when it's like, man, but you don't, man, how can you not let some of those things just wreck you? Just the trauma and the stress of it. you gotta make your peace, or you just can't. I don't know how you can survive. So my good thoughts only ever always to those types of people and sufferers. Hopefully they're not suffering. But anyway, yeah, I've never been a suffering sneezer. I've been a 2 sneezer, right? You know what kind of sneezer, but then I started noticing that I feel like I'm sneezing one time a lot, and I stopped waiting for that second shoe to drop, and it never kind of comes, and it's like I kind of stopped believing in myself as a 2 sneezer. I haven't quit believing that I'm a right-handed and right-footed yet. Haven't ever thought about maybe changing that to be both-footed. I use both feet equanimously, equivalently, with skill, such as it is. I don't feel that right now. I definitely wouldn't go up to a ball and kick it with my left foot. I wouldn't try to catch something with my left hand unless, of course, it was a baseball. And that's where my mitt hand is, on my left. But, I still I never really tried to deconstruct that belief that I'm right-handed and right-footed. But that it was a 2 sneezer, I don't know. All of a sudden, I just noticed that I just wasn't a 2 sneezer anymore. Still a sneezer, though. Still a human being who sneezes. And decently frequently, but not annoyingly. I'm not allergic to anything. That's the other thing. Sorry. I should have said this 10 minutes ago. Yeah, dust. That's all I was ever diagnosed with as far as an allergy goes. I think it's more than that these days, but thank goodness it's not the spring or the autumn. I don't recall that knock on wood, right? I've ever had seasonal allergies. No, thank goodness, right? Or any life-affecting allergies of any kind. Like when I sneeze here, my eyes aren't itchy and watery. I'm not having an allergic. But, I'm allergic to Peanut. When she bites and scratches me, that's what all these scars are, basically. They itch for like a day. And like she got me last night. Or that was maybe even earlier. That was earlier today, maybe. Or was it last night? She gets up she likes to rest up high on my chest. And, she sleeps and then she wakes up and then she just grabs my hand with her front paws and her mouth, and she starts biting and scratching me. And she starts to try to disembowel my forearm with her back paws, and like a rabbit, she's like kicking it like it hurts. Scratches, I get bloody, I get welty, and they're itchy for like a day plus, depends. Some of them get deep. Some of them, I never had to put a Band-Aid on it, I don't think. But, it's bleeding. It's not just a bloody claw rip from across the knuckle and a bite. That was from, and then there's abrasions and whatever. And so I'm allergic to the love of my life, such as she is. She for sure is. I love this cat. But, yeah, she's been, I only had one other pet that I ever had to take care of, Sherwin, and he was also amazing, but that was 30 years ago. He died 15 years ago. I don't even remember his anniversary. Maybe June. It was probably June of 2010. And then I found Peanut. And that was a whole next level. This poor little dying, abandoned 5-week-old kitten in Brooklyn in a parking garage, eyes covered with 3+ millimeters of infected mucus. She couldn't see. She was shaking. She had like a sideways football head, like Stewie. Is that the baby in Family Guy? It was not that it was damaged. It was just like she was, I don't know, hadn't filled out yet. Yeah, I never thought. It wasn't like she was injured. She was just sick and alone and completely abandoned by her mother. She was a wild cat. There was no human owner. It was probably a wild. I don't know. She got sick and they left her. Whatever. Thank God we found her on a Sunday in Brooklyn. I'd never been to Brooklyn in my life. Not that I'd never almost been. or whatever, and been to Manhattan and lived in Manhattan. So it's not like, I've never been east of the Mississippi before or nothing, but I've never been to Brooklyn before. And it was on a Sunday, and there were vets open. Multiple. We took her to one, and they cleaned her up, gave her shots and whatever. And I took her home. Took her to the vet the next day. Dropped I can't remember how much it was. Close to maybe $1,000, I think. Get her shots and neutered and all, spayed, whatever you do to a female kitten. Can't declaw, thank God. And I've never thought, you don't want the scratching really on the furniture, but I didn't never declaw a cat. It's not a painless situation. And then of course they're defenseless. Not that she's an outdoor cat. She wasn't long for that outdoor world when I found her, through no fault of her own, presumably, although she is kind of runty. But oh my goodness, did I fall in love with that little being. And I still am. She's in the bedroom right now, laying on the little makeshift sheet bed that she sometimes lays on, just chilling by herself. 8 years old. Found her in April of 2017. She's got the craziest, hilarious, this wildest alley cat personality, but she's so timid too. And she's got the most expressivest tail. And she loves to play rough. She just, it's you can feel it, when she does it all the time. It's playful, but it's like a tension release. I feel like she's released because there's a certain compulsive look in her eye that she gets when she's trying to rip the guts out of my forearm with her back claws, scratching hard, and she's really into it. She also likes a heavy hand on the head. She loves to headbutt my fist and she's one like a cat would, like some cats. Pillow wasn't like that, but Peanut, she's aggressive and loves it, and she just doesn't know better. I was her mother and father. She never had any training on how to be a cat. She had Pillow, but Pillow didn't mother her. She idolized Pillow. I don't think Pillow could stand her. Pillow was at the other end of her life and had, she had a sister back in the day, but not for a long time. And Peanut was aggressive alley cat. She wanted to just play all the time. She would paw on sleeping Pillow's head to she would reach over. Be like, I can get you. You've seen those things. She's that cat. Small little black cat with some white tufts on her breast and on her paws and on her belly. And she's got one white whisker, which I feel like part of, I would never. Just I wish that would turn black is what I wish. I'm not going to pull it. You couldn't. No. Nothing. I could never. Would you pull a whisker off of your kid's face? Don't you dare do that. You figure out a safer, you leave it alone. That's what you do. I guess your kid has a whisker. Just like a whisker, like a hard ass cat whisker. What are you going to do? Cut it? You could fall over. Right? Isn't it a balance thing with cats? You can't cut their whiskers. Well, whoever cuts a cat's whiskers? Well, nobody, right? Only cruel people would do that. So why would you cut your kid's whisker? Luckily, hopefully your kid doesn't have a whisker because it's a little weird, I imagine. But you don't dare cut it. Then your kid will fall over. So you got to leave it. Would you pluck it? That stings. And maybe it's permanent bad balance. I don't know. So that's like Peanut's one white whisker is like that. Everything else is black on her whole kind of like visage. And it's a little distracting. Because I got a little of that OCD kind of that's gotta get that. I wish I could. I never think about it. You don't think you can make it black, so that's why you go straight to plucking it or pulling it out or whatever, which just from I wish that was gone, not from I hope this doesn't hurt, I'm not gonna ever mess with a cat's face. You don't pull their claws out and pull whiskers out of their face just because of the wrong color. But if it's just one white whisker and an all black whiskered face, it's a bit of I'm never tempted, but I'm just saying. It took me a minute to get used to it. Because it wasn't always there, by the way, right? As something happens, not gray. She didn't go gray. She has no stress in her life. Maybe the one time she clawed her way out of this window right here with the screen. It's where the screen is darker. It's like cat-proof now. She clawed her way out onto the roof. I had to climb out there and go get her. She was, I don't know how scared she, I don't think that she was shaking, but she was up against, she got out there chasing after her neighbor cat, who, I'm not sure how I feel about that cat, is what I'm saying. She's a bad influence. And then whatever that cat did, that cat's used to being on the roof and doing stuff. Peanut's up against the side of the, my God, she was close. I picked her up, put her in here. Then I had to climb back in. I did it by ripping the entire screen out because I couldn't jump to the ground. I'm, 50 years old. I don't remember when she did this. 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, there's no way around. I gotta climb back in through this window. So I had to rip the screen out. Got all messed up, like scratched and dirty. I had to replace that damn screen. Anyway, that's the only, maybe she got the white whisker from that experience. Whatever. Anyway, I love her to death. So I don't know why I jumped off of that, jumped off onto that. What was I talking about before? Just sneezing, identities. Yeah, so anyway, I just found myself no longer believing that I was a 2 sneezer. That false belief that I had that I was, among other things, many other things, but among them, right, a 2 sneezer. And that's what I knew. I limited myself unconsciously. I mean, consciously, but not, I wasn't thinking in terms of limitation. I was conscious that I was a 2 sneezer. I didn't realize the implications of that belief, though. It made me into a 2 sneezer. Like that was pretty much all I ever experienced, or all I ever remember experiencing, until I started noticing, either because it actually changed, or I just never noticed before how often of a 1 sneezer I also am. You know what I'm saying? You see where this is going? And so it disrupted my belief, false, even, limiting. There's no false beliefs. Anything that's a belief is false or true, whatever. It could be both, either, or it could, one or the other. What happens when a true belief is understood, it becomes knowing. So it doesn't become a belief anymore. And if it's a false belief and you bring it to knowing, then it just disappears. And it's also not a belief anymore. That's what I was thinking about when I was over there before. Anyway, yeah, I find that I just let that belief go. I don't know if it was false or true. I just know that I always considered myself, among other things, a 2 sneezer. And now, right, this second, I no longer consider myself, I'm just a sneezer. I'm an X2 sneezer, if anything, but I'm not that. So, I say it like that because it calls attention to the fact that I used to have a belief about my sneezing. And so I guess I still kind of have a belief, but it's a knowing. That's what it is. That's what there's the metaphor laid bare in reality. It's a knowing. I know that I'm no longer simply a 2 sneezer. That's what I know, because I've experienced the embodiment of being a non-2 sneezer numerous times now. I just sneeze once, and that second shoe never drops. And I might not sneeze for days, and then I might sneeze a fair number of times during the day, but never an allergic reaction to like pollen or anything. Thank goodness. You imagine. Maybe you're a compulsive sneezer because of allergies. That would be worse than if you just were a sneezer for 15 minutes at a time, 10 times a day. Getting back to the horror story part of this experience. You start to think about that more and more. Have you ever even sneezed for 30 seconds straight? I doubt it. Unless you have, in which case, you poor soul. If you want to, you imagine going for 15 minutes straight. 10, 12 times every day. That's just your thing. So, but what if it was allergic related and you had watery eyes and the whole runny nose? Like, a lot of sneezes are dry sneezes for me. I don't have any runniness happening. It's just like a quick little, I don't know. Anyway, all that aside, I noticed that I probably sneeze 3 times as often as I sneeze 2 times anymore. And I think I sneeze 1 time at a time most of the time, or more than half the time, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's 50, 25, 25. Whereas it used to be, I feel like I remembered like this. That's why I had the identity. I feel like it was 90+% 2 sneezers. Almost never a 1 sneezer. I knew if I was sneezed once, I knew there was a second shoe dropping, right? You wear 2 shoes. I have 2 feet. So I've always had 2 feet. I've always had that second sneeze, I feel like. And sometimes it would be a 3 sneeze. So that's what I'm saying. That level of confidence, and at this point, just confidence in my memory of that experience, I feel like for sure. With so much regularity and enough, I don't know, that you know what sneezer you are? Like, I don't know, I know it. And then I know something different now. What changed? The fact that I stopped sneezing exclusively 2 times in a row, or so now I sneeze 1 time only. That fact changed, but why did that change? How did that change? Why would that change? When you get older, you stop sneezing as much. You don't need as much sleep. You also don't need as many 2 sneezes, double sneezes. You don't need a double sneeze to clear your nose because you're not breathing that deeply anymore because you're old. And so stuff doesn't get that far in. I don't know why. Is that what happens with age? Is you just become a single sneezer? Everybody does, bro. Except for those poor people who never change. Maybe they do. Hopefully they do. There is hope. There is hope for the 15-minute, 10 times a day sneezers. They could lessen up. Could you imagine what they would give for like 5 times a day of like 1-minute sneezes? Oh, it would give you. They will work for you forever. If you wanted to hire them for free, they would work for you. They would love you. Are you the Messiah? They would say. You tell me I can go from about a dozen 15-minute sneeze fests to like maybe 5 single-minute sneeze fests a day. You know how much that improves my life? The quality of my life. Unless you're like the Buddha about it, which is that whole point. Like, what a spiritual practice it would be. Or you just, not to be morbid, but what else do you do? What if you have to be able to sleep? But what if it wakes you up every like 2 or 3 hours and all of a sudden you gotta, maybe it's not always literally 15 minutes. Let's not be horrifically inflexible about it. But it's like you have a 7-minute. Oh, man. I guess there could be things worse. And that's brutal. Anyway, we don't go there. But yeah, if you're not maybe one of those unfortunate individuals, when you turn into your 50s, you start becoming a single sneezer. Everybody does, just about. I don't know. Here's what I think. I think that I still have double sneezes for sure, and when I have them, they feel like normal sneezes, like going home. Like, that's right. This is what I know my whole life, this double sneeze, because I'm an X2 sneezer. But I also know this now. When I have a sneeze, I can feel when it's going to be a double sneeze. It's not always a double sneeze. In fact, it's not as nearly as much a double sneeze as it is a single sneeze. So I go into my second sneeze phase potential with completely no expectation. I have a sneeze and I have no expectations after that experience of another sneeze, 2 other sneezes, whatever. It's not an experience really that I inhabit much. I sneeze and then I'm out of it much more quickly, I think. Whereas before, I think habitually I was just, you sneeze and then you wait for that other one. And then, that's kind of all you're thinking about, right? That's where your attention is for that, whatever that period of time is. 5 microseconds, 3 seconds. How long does it take for that other shoe to drop, right? But I can sense it now. And I don't like have a sneeze and then wait for that second sneeze. It's either coming and I know it, or it's often not coming because I don't feel anything and I know it and I'm out. I'm not thinking about sneezes anymore. Like, that's an awareness change. That's not a physiological sneeze change thing. Like, I'm aware of it now and it changes, because I think what it was I was just always waiting for that second sneeze. Because I just never had single sneezes. But now I have them all the time. Like, I'm a single sneezer, except for so see, here's the key learning here. I didn't go from being a 2 sneezer to a 1 sneezer. I just went to being a sneezer. I stayed being a sneezer. If you think of this spiritually as a metaphor, like, I was always a sneezer. I always sneezed. I've sneezed my whole life. I will continue to sneeze, but I used to always be a 2 sneezer, and now I just sneeze when I sneeze, and sometimes, a lot of times, it's just 1 sneeze most of the time, and then sometimes it's 2 or 3, or every once in a while it's more, but it's luckily never a fit, let alone a massive disabling compulsion issue or whatever. Probably, a physiological autonomic response of about like 15-minute sneeze session. No, it's just, sneezing's, I'm aware of it, but I no longer identify with myself as a sneezer per se. Sure, if you were to say, do you sneeze? I would say, yes, I sneeze. Are you a sneezer? For short, maybe, for shorthand, but technically, no, I don't identify as a sneezer at all anymore. I sneeze, but I don't identify with that. I don't turn that into an identity. So I let that go also. Maybe I can work on that right-handedness, right? Like, isn't that how it works? Isn't that how identities work? More or less, they're unspoken, subconscious, somewhat hidden beliefs that you're just not aware of, that you have about yourself and your life experience, and the whole way you live your life experience. Like, all that stuff is under your subconscious influence. Until you bring said influences to your conscious awareness, and then they're revealed as either false beliefs, in which case they dissipate with knowledge, or true beliefs, in which case they align with knowledge, and they no longer are beliefs, you just know them.